My name's Keith Turney. I'm the National Sergeant at Arms. I'm in my second term of office, and I'm a police officer retired from the city of Joliet, Illinois. Basically started in law enforcement on a whim. A friend of mine was taking out an application for police work, and I accompanied him. They hired me, they didn't hire him. Joliet at the time had a residency requirement. I did not live in Joliet. I lived in the south suburbs of Chicago. So I thought once they implemented the residency requirement, I would just move on and find another job. However, I not only fell in love with the profession, but I also fell in love with the community that I worked for. And I stayed there 31 years, and I retired as a police commander there in Joliet. I started my career in the FOP when I missed a meeting and was nominated for treasurer. And so I did that for a couple of years in our local lodge, and then from there I moved on to president. At the time, I was one of the longest seated presidents of our FOP Lodge and our union. Of course, you know, in policing you move up through the ranks, and I was actually in line to be promoted out of the union into an exempt position of police commander. And at that time I figured my FOP activities were probably going to start to dwindle. But ironically, they actually accelerated because I had people come to me and ask me to run for a state lodge office in Illinois. And I told them, I says, look, my career's going a different direction, you know, and I'm going to be part of management. And those folks saw enough in me that said it didn't matter whether you were labor or management, you're a good FOP person, and we wanted to keep you on. So I ran then for second vice president. I held that position in Illinois till today. I'm still second vice president with the Illinois FOP. I kind of got pushed into it at first. One of the reasons that I was nominated is because I apparently had a rather boisterous voice in the workplace. So my coworkers figured, what a better person to put into office, at least as a treasurer. And then throughout my time in the organization and working my way up, I realized, and I think other people saw it in me, that I had some leadership capability, and encouraged me to run for president. And so I did. And again, when I thought maybe my career was over and I was going to step back a little bit, I had people that encouraged me to run for second vice president. And just recently, within the last 3 years, when I ran for National Sergeant at Arms, again, it really wasn't me. It was people around me that were encouraging me and saying, yes, this is a good opportunity for you. We think that you'd make a great leader in the national organization, and we want you to run. So it's never really been about me. It's been people that have actually pulled me along and encouraged me. Numbers alone, 350,000 and still growing. I think that's one of the most important aspects of our organization. Many organizations are, especially fraternal organizations, and I know we're more than just a fraternal organization, but many of these organizations are losing membership. If you look at some of the other social groups, there's Kiwanis and Rotary clubs and that sort of thing, people aren't being as involved in those type of organizations, and yet our ranks are growing. And I think they're growing because they know that we are able to provide a level of service with our legal defense, our labor plans, and just our mentorship in leadership that encourages people to come to us and to be involved. When I was a young officer, we lost a beloved fellow officer in our department, and we were able to apprehend his killer. And over the years, there were many, many, many appeals, and I had to run the rallies and to keep the momentum going, to bring people into court to make sure that this individual stayed behind bars. So in my younger years, that was a great accomplishment. When I got involved in our state lodge, Some of the accomplishments that I'm probably most proud of is bringing our communications systems together. So, for example, in Illinois, as in many places, we have the state lodge, but we also have the city of Chicago, which is a large lodge. We have our Illinois Troopers, which is a large lodge. We have our Labor Council, which is another entity of our FOP. And not always, the communication was never always the best. And so I thought one of the most important things in that era was to bring the communication of the organization together. I've always prided myself as being a coalition builder, a person that can bring others together and kind of get them in the right direction. So I've been very successful at that. Now, as of recently, with my assignment with the Collaborative Reform Initiative Technical Assistance Center, that's the CRI-TAC program, that is a partnership that the FOP has with IACP, Major City Chiefs, Sheriff's Association, and many, many other organizations. We are now pushing out free training, free consultation to agencies, police departments across the nation. And so that has given me a great opportunity to provide services, to provide training to organizations, agencies that could never afford that kind of stuff. Well, I think job one of the National Sergeant at Arms is to ensure the safety and security of our organization at all levels. Now, if you look at the bylaws, the Sergeant of Arms is responsible for keeping peace and order at our national conference. And really, that's the only obligation we have under the bylaws. But I take it much more seriously. So, for example, whenever the National Board is getting together, whenever they're going to be assembling anywhere in the country, I'm the point guy. I always try to get out there a little bit ahead of things and network with the FOP Lodge that is doing the sponsorship for the National Board meetings and that sort of thing, and make sure that they have all of their security issues locked down, or at least that we have an understanding on how they're going to conduct their meetings. And I try to insist that when we have a board meeting, let's make sure that all of our attendees have the proper credentials to get into the meeting. I've been at meetings where all of a sudden you look around and someone in the audience isn't recognized. Who is that person? Well, I'm the guy then that goes up to that person and sometimes embarrass myself, right? Because they're like, I've been a long time member of the FOP and you don't know me. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know everyone in the FOP. But I'm going to make sure that the right people are in our meetings and the wrong people stay out of our meetings. And I take that back to when I was a police commander in Joliet, because I was the incident commander at Chicagoland Motor Speedway when we had our NASCAR events there. So I was responsible for about 100,000 people that would come to these events. And so I was very cognizant of safety and security. And so when I took the job as Sergeant at Arms, I just kind of translated that into that same type of demeanor. I want to make sure that our people, wherever they assemble, are safe, especially in today's day and age, because there are so many people out there that want to do us harm. I don't know how anyone who has a full-time job doing something else could actually be a dedicated FOP executive board member, because to really do any position on the National Board Justice, you have to be available to the members. And to be available to the members means you have to travel across the country. And so it's always been my personal quest that whenever I'm invited anywhere in the country, I try to make every effort to go to that inviting lodge, whether it's a local lodge, state lodge, because that's where you really learn what's going on in your national organization, by being on the ground, interacting with our members across the country and finding out what those issues are. And is it time consuming? Yes. Is it tough on a family? Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, my three daughters are grown, 2 of them are married, and every time I have the opportunity to talk to my kids, they always go out of their way to tell me how proud they are of their dad. for the things I do. And they also remember, they always make it a point of reminiscing when they were growing up, because they grew up as FOP kids. So, when I went to a conference, they went to a conference. And so they have some great memories of traveling across the country and traveling across the state of Illinois, going to various conferences and meeting various people. And I think that made them with giving them that opportunity, made them very, very well-rounded as they grew up. I wish we were, not just for the National FOP, I wish for law enforcement in general, that we could all come together under one banner. And this has been a quest of mine since I originally got involved in the FOP. And I hate to compare ourselves to the firefighters, but when you look at the firefighters, wherever you go in the country, if you're a firefighter, you belong to the International Firefighters Association. If you're a police officer, although we have 350,000 members, we have a lot of law enforcement officials across this United States that are not FOP members. And they're members of other organizations that really don't have the recognizable identity that we do. And I think the ultimate goal of the FOP would be to have, for law enforcement, one FOP across this country, so that wherever you go in this country and you talk to any police officer anywhere in this country, you would know you're talking to another FOP member. I think that would be our ultimate goal. Well, I hate to go back to what I do for CRI-TAC, okay? But to me, CRI-TAC's more than just providing services to our members, because we provide services to law enforcement officers who are not our members, okay? So in that regard, I use my involvement in CRI-TAC as a way to promote the FOP, a way to recruit new members. So yeah, I'm hoping that by the end of my term, not only will I be able to assist in providing services to, so far we've done almost 300 agencies. I assume by the time my term is over, we'll do 500 agencies. So we'll be able to reach out to 500 agencies to provide good training opportunities to them. But what I'm hoping is that in part of that is we will be able to attract new membership through those activities, because they'll see what the FOP has done as a partner in CRI-TAC and say, I want to be part of that organization. So I was on the history committee for maybe 5 or 6 years. And I think that was probably one of the most, not only rewarding, but interesting opportunities I had. Because being on the history committee, you had to look at where our organization has come, not just over my 40 years, but over the last 140 years, right? And how we've grown, and to look at the behavior and the activities of previous leaders in our organization, and to see the great contributions they made. And I've always been a person that I know I can't do it all by myself. And I know that for me to be a success, I have to look back on the successes of my predecessors. And being on that history committee and having that opportunity to meet and to talk to some of the great leaders of the FOP, from over the last 50, 80 years, was really a very great learning experience. And so much to say, here at this conference, we had Dick Boyd speak yesterday. And it was wonderful to see an individual who has given so much of his life to this organization, at his age, was able to get up on that stage and passionately talk about the FOP. That to me was just amazing. Well, I've got to say, the meetings with our current President Trump have probably been the most interesting, because whether you like the president or not, he's got an air about him that is not very officious. He's pretty down to earth. And so when you're in a meeting with him, and especially if the cameras aren't on and it's just a meeting, you know, he really is able to kind of relate to what you're saying. And he's not, and he doesn't mince words, and he's not always politically correct, okay? But one thing I've noticed, he doesn't tell us what we want to hear, right? He really does listen to us and then try, I believe, to to impact change in law enforcement. I think he's one of our best cheerleaders right now, and I know he gets beat up for it. And I mean, that's, you know, God bless him, because, you know, he knows that he has taken some positions in defense of law enforcement, in defense of our military, that aren't always well received by the general population. But I believe he feels like he's got an honor, you know, an obligation to do this, and he does it well. Stay the course, stay strong, stay FOP strong, and always remember that that you have support, not just from above, but from below. The people that work under you are supporting you. They want to see you be successful. The people that you're over you, that you're aspiring to be, we want to see you be successful, and we'll do everything we can to make sure you are a success.